You know, jeans, they're a staple in everybody's wardrobe. And when you embroider on your jeans, well, you can make them yours. You can go all out, or you can be a little bit more subtle. With tips and tricks, we can embroider jeans, even the stretchiest ones. That's what we're all about today on Sewing Tech Talk. I'm Cathy. Let's embroider some jeans. So we have an extra special giveaway for today's video. It is an Anita Good Design embroidery party, and it is a collection of nine different design packs, $500 worth of design packs. There they are, and two of them are just perfect for embroidering on Levi's. So, and then all kinds of fun projects as well. So a very special giveaway. Like, share, and comment, and you're entered for a chance to win this cool prize. So extra special good luck. This is our 1-year anniversary Sewing Tech Talk. I can't believe it's been a year. I've had so much fun. Over 50 videos, can you believe it? And I hope you're enjoying watching them as much as I'm enjoying sharing these embroidery adventures in my studio. So thank you if you're a long-time viewer. Welcome if you're brand new. We have lots of adventures coming up. Maybe some new machines we're going to explore, and I have a whole list of topics that we're going to cover, and we're going to go on those adventures together. So thanks for watching, and oh my gosh, we got a lot ahead of us. But today we're going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I love embroidering on jeans, and I know a lot of people like embroidery on jeans. It's a classic. When I was a child, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, I embroidered on my jeans by hands because that's what we did back then. But jeans are a classic, and I don't think they'll ever go out of style, and embroidery on jeans is always going to be something that's going to be great. And you can express yourself and make yours personalized to you. Who doesn't want to be a cool cat when they have their jeans on? So let me talk about doing embroidery on some Levi pants. Now you can do jackets. Jackets are pretty easy. I do have a handout, and it talks about embroidery on denim specifically, but I'm going to do a pair of jeans today, a pair of Levi's. Well, not Levi's, a pair of jeans, actually. They're not that Levi fabric. They're not traditional denim fabric. Now, denim fabric, why is it so comfortable? Why do we live in jeans anymore, right? Because even traditional denim back from the day when I was young and you had to buy a pair of jeans and you bought 2 sizes too big and you wore them and wash them and wore them and wash them till they broke in, right? Even that denim had some stretch to it. And if you're an embroiderer that has been embroidering for a while, you know that embroidering on a fabric that has stretch to it, well, that offers some opportunities for bringing out all your embroidery skills. Today, we don't have to break into our jeans, right? They are stretchy. They have built-in stretch to them, and they have absolutely maximum stretch. We're going to talk after we get started in setting up the machine about how you can check for the amount of stretch that your jeans has, how we're going to stabilize them, how we're going to set them up for embroidery. But first I want to go to the Baby Lock Altair. That's the machine I've chosen today because it has quite a few features that are really going to be super useful when I'm doing my embroidery on jeans. And I'm going to explore those. So we're going to go to the machine first and talk about how we're going to set everything up. Now, these are the jeans that I'm going to be embroidering today. Now, when you embroider jeans, you can be as elaborate as you want. You can cover these whole things with embroidery, or you can be a little bit more subtle. I'm going a little bit more subtle on this pair. And let me tell you why I've chosen this pair to share with you today. Well, I bought this pair, and within the first 2 hours of wearing them the first time, I got a hole in them. I walked by one of those tables and it had a staple sticking out. It impaled me and it put a hole in my jeans. I healed, the jeans didn't. So it's always bugged me. I know holes in jeans are fashionable, but that's not the vision I have for this pair of jeans. So I'm going to cover over this hole. Now these are super stretchy jeans, so I have to really prepare them to do some embroidery on them. We're going to talk about that when we get to the table. But I want to cover this hole with some embroidery so I don't see it, right? So let's talk about the design that I've chosen and how I'm going to set it up for doing the embroidery on this pair of jeans. First and foremost, I'm sorry, but you're probably going to have to do some deconstruction if you're going to do any embroidery on the leg of the jeans. You're going to have to take out the inseam. I know, I'm sorry, but it's one way you can, the only way really, you can kind of get in there to do one of these kind of larger designs. So we'll talk about that when we get to the table, but you're probably going to have to deconstruct them. Now when we hoop the jeans, what we want to use is we probably want to use a smallest hoop we can for the size of embroidery that we're going to, because it's kind of hard to get the hoop around all the nooks and crannies of these pants, right? Even with the inseam released, you got to get in there and you got to get them hooped. The other thing we have to take into consideration is if we're going to be embroidering over the seam, that seam can be bulky because it's a Levi material, right? So we're going to set up the machine to cover over the top of that. So enough talking, let's get to the machine. So this is the design that I've chosen. And it's a floral design that's built into the Altair under the botanical. I like it because it kind of has some open work, but it's dense enough it's going to cover that hole for me, right? Now I have decided I'm going to use my 5x7 hoop because I know I can fit that into where I want to get into the Levi's to embroider them. This design is bigger than that, so I'm going to have to reduce the size of it. So first and foremost, let's do that. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to come to edit and I'm going to change the size. Now in the Altair, I can change the size and recalculate the number of stitches as well. So by touching this icon right here, I can tell the machine that yes, I want you to, when I adjust this design, I want you to calculate the number of stitches that's appropriate. I want to do that. This is very stretchy denim. I want to do the least amount of stitches I can to get the point across. So if I reduced it without recalculating stitches, it would be so firm, it wouldn't be what I want. So I'm going to reduce it so that it fits into my 5x7 hoop. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to touch this, and the machine's going to reduce the design down to that 5x7. And I've already done that, but I wanted to show you the concept. So there it is, it's reducing, and I can tell the size of the design right up here. I'm going to keep going until it's 5x7. Now I can reduce it all over, I can reduce it to the side, just whatever I need to do to get it down to that size hoop. Now it's recalculating quite a few stitches, and it's a pretty powerful program there to be able to do that inside the machine. Without this machine, I'd have to do this in software. Now I'm getting pretty close. Remember, I've already done it. I've already made it the perfect size for my pants because I knew you were coming. But I just wanted to show you the concept in here. Now, I've got it down to a pretty good size that I like. I'm going to say okay. Now there's one other feature in the Altair that I really like. I can adjust the density of this design, meaning the number of stitches that are packed in there. I can even reduce that. So I'm going to go into the density, and instead of 100%, I want it to go down. I can go down to 80% in this machine. So every time I click a reduced number, I can go down 5% at a time. I can take it down and it's going to reduce the number of stitches. Remember, I want to get my point across with the least number of stitches on this stretchy fabric. 80% is as low as I can go. If I had software, I could go a little bit lower, but I don't think I need to. So now I'm down to 80%, and there's my design. I've reduced the size, recalculated the stitches, and I've also reduced the density. Now while I'm at the machine, I'm going to get it set up a little bit because I wanted to share with you what I would do if I was embroidering over this seam. I've already embroidered over this seam on the side, but what can happen is that seam is pretty high. And if I'm stitching along, pretend I'm stitching along, and I come over to here and the foot gets caught on that seam, well, that could be disaster, right? Well, the machine has a setting that I can adjust that height of that embroidery foot. So I'm going to go to the settings pages, and I can see that I have all my different custom settings that I can choose. I can choose to see an outline of that 5x7 frame, which I have, but I can come over here and I can see the embroidery foot height. The standard is 0.06 millimeters. I can tell it's standard because it has a black box around it. But I can come here and I can increase the size so that foot rides higher and it will not catch on that seam. Now, if you're concerned, you can also put a topper on the top of this to help it glide over the top of that. I talk about that in your handout. So there's lots of details that we're going to go through today, and in the handout, they're all listed there, and including how to hoop it, and probably a good selection for how you're going to pick a good pair of jeans to do an embroidery on. Now, one other thing that I'm going to have to do is when we go over to the table to hoop this, I have all these little nooks and crannies of the pants, and I've taken out the inseam. But what can happen is it's challenging to get this hooped in there, especially if this seam is going to come between the two layers of the hoop. It doesn't want to hoop very well because it's so thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to float my pair of jeans over the top of my stabilizer. I've hooped in a wash away tacky stabilizer, and the jeans are going to lay right on the top of them. And that's how I'm going to, and then I'm going to baste them down. Now, I'm going to baste them down two ways, and I want to show you how that is. So first and foremost, okay, I have my design. Now, if I want to baste my design down, when I go to embroidery, I have under layout a function where I just touch that little icon right there, and it automatically puts a box of basting around my design. Now, I'm going to stick it down to the sticky stabilizer, but there's a lot of jeans here to move around, right? So I want to make sure it's nice and secure, and that's why I'm going to do a baste. Now, if I'm very close to that 5x7 size that I need, and I do a baste, usually a baste comes out a little bit farther than your design. But I don't have to have it that way. Once again, settings are my friend. So I can go to the settings and I can choose the distance the basting is from the design. And I can take it all the way to be right next to that design. So if I'm close to the limit of my hoop, I can take my basting in and be right in there. I'm going to use wash away thread, so it's going to come right out. If I accidentally stitch on the top of it, well, then that's okay. The wash away thread's going to go away when I touch it with water. Now, one other thing. This is the Baby Lock Altair, and it has IQ positioning. How does IQ positioning work? Well, here's my frame. Here's my 5x7 that comes with the Baby Lock Altair. And if you notice, it has this little black and white on the bottom and the top. That's how it knows what's in the hoop. Well, I bet you figured it out. If I'm going to lay my jeans on the top of my hoop, I'm not going to be able to see those with my IQ positioning. What's an embroiderer to do? Well, with the Baby Lock Altair, I have something really cool. I have IQ Designer, and I'm going to use that to do two things. I'm going to use it to help me do a custom positioning, and I'm going to use it to do a custom baste around that design. Let's see how that works. So here's my design. Pretend that's the one that I'm using. Well, it's not. Let's go get the real one. I'm going to go back home, and I put it in the memory of the machine, the one I'm really going to use. So when I come to embroidery, built into the machine, I have the design that I'm really going to use. I've rotated it, sized it. I know it's going to fit right where I want. And I have it down to fit in that 5x7 hoop. So I'm going to hit set. Now there it is. You can see the outline of the 5x7 hoop, and you can see that I've rotated it. Now let's create a custom placement and a custom basting design. Are you ready? So under Edit, I have this little flower, and when I touch that, that takes the exact outline of that flower. And I'm going to say memory, and that's going to send it to IQ Designer. Now in IQ Designer, I have the exact placement of that flower, the exact size, and all the changes I've made to it have been saved. Let's see what I'm going to do with that. So when I say OK, I'm going to come back. Now this is in memory. I'm going to leave it away, and I'm going to come into IQ Designer, and I want to pull up that outline. Under Shapes, I'm going to pull up the outline, the little flower. There's my flower. I did it before, but I'm going to do it again for you. Okay. There it is. Now, I want to do some stitching around this for my basting, right? So all I do is I come here to the lines. I pick the smallest line I can, which is that double run. Let's make it red so that we can see it. Okay. Touch the bucket, touch the outline. Pretty easy so far, right? Now, when I go to Next, I'm just going to use this as a placement and a basting. I don't need a very small stitch length. So I'm going to take the stitch length to the largest I can. Set, Preview. Now, I have a custom basting design for this flower that's going to be the exact outline of this flower. But even better, I'm going to use it to perforate the stabilizer to show me exactly where this flower is going to go. Pretty cool, right? So how does that work? So I'm going to hit Set. Now, what I've done is I've taken my stabilizer. It is a wash away stabilizer, but it's tacky. And the tacky stabilizer has a paper on the top of it that you remove to expose the tacky. Got it? So what I've done is I've told the machine I'm going to stitch this outline, but I've told it that not to worry if I don't have any thread in the machine. So what it did is it stitched around and it perforated the paper and the stabilizer on the back. So I know exactly where the outline of this flower is. How do I set the machine up to do that? Well, all I do, you probably figured it out, I go back to Settings. So Settings, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the upper and bobbin thread sensor. On the Altair, it's on page 4 of the settings, and I turned it off. What does that mean? Now, when your machine is running out of thread, when it's running out of bobbin, when the thread breaks on the top, it automatically lets you know that, hey, something's wrong, come pay attention to me. Well, I've told it not to pay attention to that. And so what I've done, I've taken before I take the paper off, I put the stabilizer in the hoop in the machine with the paper still on. And I went ahead and I just stitched that outline, and it just perforated the paper, and I know exactly where this flower is going to be. IQ positioning is great. It would be really nice to have that machine that projects it down there so I wouldn't have to do that. That's either the Solaris or the Luminaire, but we're going to use what we got. And so stitch out this perforation. I've already done some of it. I want to take you over to the table. We're going to hoop this up. I'm going to show you how you stabilize the fabric and how you put a stabilizer in the hoop to get it stitched in. And I'll be right over at the table. I'll see you soon. So here we are at the table, and you can go crazy putting embroidery on a pair of jeans. I went a little over the top on these. I even added crystals. When I wear these, I get so many compliments. People stop and ask me what boutique I got them at, but we know the secret. So on these jeans, though, that I'm doing today, I'm going a little bit more subtle. And so here's that one design that I started. I actually didn't even finish all of the design. There's that hole that I'm going to cover. Now let's talk about the two stabilization challenges we have to overcome. First and foremost, like I said, these are very stretchy jeans. So to get where I needed to be on any pair of jeans, I had to undo the inseam. So take your mighty seam ripper, and you're just going to have to patiently undo that seam. Before you do that, you're gonna have to sew it back together, right? So find yourself some matching all-purpose thread before you take that seam out to make sure that you can put it back together the way it was before. Now it's the inseam. It's, you know, not going to be seen by hopefully that too many people, but find yourself, I found this pale peach that matches the pants. So find yourself some matching thread before you take that seam away. And in the machine, I went ahead and I put in and I inserted a jeans needle because we're going to be sewing through jeans fabric. So take out your inseam. We're going to have to stabilize these pants, right? Because they're super stretchy. How can you tell how stretchy your pants are? Well, you can look on the label. And on the label, if you look, that has the fiber content of the fabric that's been used. Any word that says elastin, it'll maybe even say elastic, it may say spandex, it'll give you that word and it will talk about the percentage that it has. These have 2% spandex and they are super, super stretchy. So that's probably the biggest number I've seen is 2%, but it makes it the most stretchiest pair of jeans. Now, if you don't want to deal with that, look at the fiber content of the jeans that you want to embroider on and get something with a little less stretch, right? Okay, so now we have to stabilize these pants themselves. We need a cutaway stabilizer because remember, we're treating them like a knit, right? So we need a stabilizer that's going to stay with the pants and it's going to stabilize that stretch. Now what this is Dream Weave Fusible. It's a Floriani product and I love it. It is available in white and black. And what it is, it's not a stabilizer, it's it reinforces the fabric. It has some stretch to it. So, and it's fusible. So what I do is I cut a patch that's going to fit on the inside where my design is going to go. And I iron it onto the back. Now, it has big stretch one way and minimal stretch the other way. So I put I iron it on so the part with minimal stretch is going to help stabilize the super stretchy fabric. Does that make sense? And I can cut away, when I do another design, I can cut away parts of it if I want to after I'm done. But this is going to stabilize the fabric. Okay, now you could use a no-show mesh fusible, but I really like this product because it's a little bit of stretch and we want our jeans to be comfortable, right? So that stabilizes the jeans, right? So now let's talk about the fabric, the stabilizer that's in the hoop. We need something to hold these jeans in so because we're not going to hoop them between the layers of the hoop. Remember, the bulky seam is going to make that hard. So this is a wet and gone tacky. Goes away with water, but it has a tacky side. Now, you don't have to use wet and gone. There's other things. There's heat and gone. There's just plain old tearaway that you can use, but I super recommend on especially a super stretchy pair of jeans, go with a tacky because it's going to hold it on there better than it would be if you didn't have that, even with the basting. Now, here's the magic. What we had IQ Designer. What we had was, oops, I lost my microphone. What we had was we perforated the fabric. Not the fabric, the stabilizer. So I perforated the stabilizer and I know exactly where these Levi's are going to go. So I'm going to take away the paper. It's hooped with the paper side up and I'm just going to score the paper and I'm going to peel it away to expose that tacky. Now I can see where the perforations are. It's might be hard on the camera to see, but I can see them if I look at that stabilizer. I can see where the perforations are. I could also just lay this back on if I needed to know exactly where. Even if I needed to mark it with a marker, I could do that as well. So now I'm going to take my Levi's. I've taken the inseam out. Probably have to turn them wrong side out so that you can get all this bulk somewhere. Now here they are, And I know I want the head of this flower right around in there to cover that hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that. You probably cannot see it on the camera, but I know where I'm going. I'm going to see it. I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to stick that on, and then I'm going to flatten it on out. You can see it wants to stretch and wrinkle, right? Hope you can see that on the camera. There we go. And that tacky is going to hold it down really, really well. Now, I can check where that is. I'm going to even turn it over to see if that's right in the middle of that flower. And I think I did a pretty darn good job. Now, when I go to the machine, I'm going to stitch this outline in what kind of thread? That's right, I'm going to stitch it in wash away thread. So if I've misplaced it, I can still move it inside the hoop, right? But I think it's going to be pretty good. I'm going to do the basting that's going to be right around the design in wash away, and I'm also going to do that box that goes around, and this shouldn't move with the tacky and the 2 layers of basting. It should stay nice and stable. Now, while I'm stitching, if I see something's going to pucker, I could always slip another layer of like a cutaway a tearaway underneath it to help stabilize that. So, hope that makes sense. We've gone through how we're going to stabilize the pants. We have stabilizer on the hoop so that we can stick the design on. We're going to go to the machine and baste. We might actually be ready to embroider on this pair of jeans. So if you have a question actually on stabilizers, what I meant to tell you as well, I have another handout besides the handout for all of my different videos. There's the Floriani Stabilizer Workbook. Tons of information on all these different stabilizers. So if you're kind of curious about what stabilizer might work for what, remember you want one that's going to release off the back for it's in the hoop, but you want to cut away something that's going to stay with the fabric that's going to be on the jeans. So lots of information in there. Go get that handout, and it's a well-used book in my sewing room, I can tell you that. So I think we're good. Oh, one more thing. Oh my goodness. So if we have that seam, remember I talked to you at the machine, you can use a topper. So you can use a topper on the top of that. And this is a heat and gone. You could lay it on the top, and then you could use that to help the machine glide over that seam even after you've raised the foot. Another option, say I was doing some more filled in design, I could use a mylar on the top of it and not only have a topper, but have some extra sparkle. So there's all kinds of different options. Okay, this is in here. What do I have to do next? I've got to go to the machine, do my 2 basting, put the thread in, and I'm super close to having a nice pair of jeans. I'll see you over at the machine. We're almost ready to embroider, okay? So make sure that you've tightened up your hoop. This is the hoop driver that comes with the Altair. I've tightened up my hoop. Make sure that hoop is nice and tight on that wash away tacky stabilizer. You saw me lay the fabric in the hoop, and I have placed my little hole that I'm going to cover exactly where I want. Now we got to manage the bulk, right? So there's a lot of different parts and pieces flying around. What I've done is I put it into the machine. I've made sure that everything is kind of as supported as it can be. I've used Wonder clips to clip the sides, the fabric to just the sides of the stabilizer that's coming up. Just extra insurance to hold it. And I've brought up the design that I did in IQ Designer that's just going to baste around that flower. And remember, I selected that basting function. So we're ready to go. It's going to do that outside box first. Let me show you how I pull up the thread for that. All I do is I go to the very first stitch in the design by hitting a +1 over on the machine. That's pretty simple. Now, I have the wash away thread in the top. I've threaded the machine with wash away thread. I'm going to hold that thread, and I'm just going to do a needle down and a needle up. And it's going to pull up that bobbin thread, which is the standard embroidery bobbin thread, and I'm going to pull it out. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm not going over a seam where I've placed this. So I'm just going to go up to settings really, really quick, and I'm going to change my embroidery foot height to the standard. Really, really simple, right? You just got to remember to do that anyway. And now I'm going to do my baste. Now the reason I pulled up that bottom thread is a baste is a big old stitches. And if I didn't pull up that thread, it might miss the first few because it's such a long distance. And if that bobbin thread is short, it won't pull it up. So I have my bobbin thread, my top thread. I'm going to hold it, lower the foot. Green means go. Here we go. We're going to baste this down. This is a good time also to check and make sure everything's flowing beautifully. Perfect. Now, what's going to come up is the next color is where I've gone around the outline with IQ Designer, and I'm going to stitch that with my wash away thread still. And I'm going to check and see and make sure that I've placed my flower so that I'm going to cover the area that I want to cover is that hole. So, lower the boom. Now this is a longer stitch stick, not quite as long as that basting, but as long as it needs to be. Now, because when I was in IQ Designer, the minimum amount of stitching I can have is for it to go around that design twice with that stitch. I don't need it to go around twice. So after I went around the first time, I just stopped it. And I'm going to advance now to actually do the thread to do my design. Now, I think this is a great technique. Even if I wasn't doing a pair of jeans and I wanted to make sure I placed something, or I'm doing embroidery on knit, I could do that super close basting, wash away thread, it's going to come out, and I'm going to be totally assured I not only have my thing placed exactly where I want, but it's not going to shift. So let's take out that wash away thread, put in our regular thread, and I'm going to have a beautiful design on my pair of jeans. Here's the thread that I chose. I picked a color that kind of looked like the same color, but it was just a little tiny bit darker because I kind of want that tone on tone effect. It threads so nice. Now, I need to bring up that design. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up that design, I'm going to stitch it out, and I think I'm going to have a beautiful pair of jeans. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send it off to George because I have 39 minutes worth of flower to stitch, but I'm going to show you the finished product in that handout. Makes you go get the handout, doesn't it? And if you saw the beginning of the video, well, I'm going to show the finished product. I showed the finished product at the beginning of the video. So time travel on back to the front and you can see that. Thank you for joining me today. I really had a good time. Go out, get a pair of jeans and embroider them. Oh my gosh, it takes them. Takes an old classic and gives it new sparkle and new life. We'll all be fashion forward. I'm going to finish this on up. I'm going to send it off to George. The Altair, tons of cool features that really help me get a perfect design. Thanks for watching me. Send it off to George.
Thanks, Cathy. That was an incredible presentation. Don't forget, you can click on the link and download Cathy's lesson guide on today's presentation. But I want to take a couple moments to share with you my favorite features on the Baby Lock Altair. I believe the Altair is dollar for dollar the most advanced machine on the market. There are machines that sell for thousands of dollars more that do not offer the same features. You know, the embroidery features are incredible. The 9.5 inch by 14 inch embroidery area, you can really expand your horizon with embroidery, and there's 494 built-in designs. You also have that 10.1-inch color screen that gives you all kinds of editing capability, from color to sizing to also you can actually take designs and do automatic stippling around it. It has 30 built-in fonts and 5 jumbo monograms. Now with the fonts, you have all kinds of editing capability. You can even take and put in a name or a saying and then do an applique border and turn it into applique automatically. It also has the IQ Designer. Now, this is an app that you use your smart device like a phone or an iPad, and you can send an image, a graphic image, to the machine, and it will turn it into embroidery instantly. The embroidery is amazing, but what about the sewing and quilting? This machine has 11.25 inches of space and 5 inches of height, so you can fit even the largest quilts into this machine. It also has automatic fabric sensors that will sense the thickness of the fabric, so it will set the right pressure, and with the automatic tension it gives you perfect fabric control, from heavy denim to very sheer fabric to working with elastic or even a t-shirt collar. This machine truly controls the fabric with perfection. But also it has the digital dual feed, and what that does is that is a belt-driven walking foot system that's controlled by the motor of the machine, and you can control, even like here with this Minky, perfectly. So you have so many amazing features with this machine. But what about an amazing deal? And we're offering free shipping across the United States. Plus we have interest-free payments of $167 per month. That makes this machine very affordable. But wait, that's not all. For a limited time, and while we have it in stock, we are offering a special bonus with your Altair purchase. So first, we're gonna give this beautiful set of 63 spools of polyester embroidery thread. The beautiful shine and quality of this thread is quite amazing. Also, I'm including the Baby Lock Ultimate Stabilizer Bundle. This has the most popular rolls of stabilizer, from wash away to cut away, in different colors, and this will enhance your embroidery to give you a better quality. I'm also including the Baby Lock Altair Inspirational Guide. Now, the instructions on this machine is wonderful, but what's different about the Inspirational Guide, it is written by Baby Lock educators, assuming you know nothing about the machine. So it takes you through every aspect, giving you full color. It's over 300 pages of full color description, step-by-step description. And if you complete this Inspirational Guide, you truly know everything on this machine. We're including that. Plus, we're going to include a online membership to Baby Lock's Love of Knowledge. This has hundreds of videos that give you step-by-step details on how to use the machine and also do techniques. This is invaluable, and you get a membership to this as well. You also get our famous rose gold scissors. These scissors are wonderful, both the shears and the embroidery shears. But last and not least, we put together a very exclusive design bundle by Anita Good Design. It has 17 different collections, and it comes with over 400 design files, and it's truly amazing the variety you get with this. So all this, which equals over a $1,600 value, is free with your Altair purchase for a limited time. Now, we will run out of these supplies, so this is while supplies last. So click on the link to order, or you can call us at 1-800-865-9664. You can email me at moreso@aol.com. But don't wait, this deal will surely end. But if you have any questions, again, call us at 1-800-865-9664. Bye for now.